12 mysterious and most terrifying archaeological discoveries in the world. Viewer discretion advised. Hello, and welcome to Ancient History, a place where even the oldest stones can find a voice and tell their stories. My friend, within the vast flow of thousands of years of human history, there are traces that seem to have been erased by time, yet in reality, they have been quietly waiting to be discovered. Archaeology is the key that unlocks this hidden treasury of secrets, where every discovery holds not only material value but also sends a shiver down our spines as it confronts us with questions that remain unanswered. Think about it for a moment. What allows a mummy to lie undisturbed for thousands of years and still remain remarkably intact? Why are some ancient artifacts, worth entire fortunes, buried deep beneath the earth for centuries on end? And what truly lies hidden behind ancient tombs, where people of the past placed their beliefs, their fears, and their longing for immortality? These questions do not trouble archaeologists alone. They keep awake anyone who has a passion for history. Over the years, archaeologists have tirelessly dug deeper, peeling back layer after layer of soil and fragments of the past. With each discovery, history is rewritten, sometimes completely overturning what humanity once believed to be true. Some findings leave the world in awe, while others send chills down our spines with secrets that are simply too mysterious. So what, in the end, has humanity uncovered beneath the dust of time? Which artifacts have made even the scientific community proceed with caution? And which discoveries continue to spark debate to this very day? If you're just as curious as I am, then stay with us as we follow the traces of the past and uncover ancient secrets in today's video. Two skeletons reveal a forgotten history beneath the Amazon soil. My friend, have you ever thought that a single strike of a shovel into the ground could touch a past that is thousands of years old? If you haven't, then come with me to the vast Amazon rainforest of Brazil, a place where dense vegetation blocks out the sunlight and history still lies motionless beneath thick layers of soil. Because it was here that an unexpected moment occurred, sending chills down everyone's spine. It wasn't treasure hunters, nor a professional expedition, but ordinary road construction workers who opened the door to an ancient human secret. The story began along Highway BR 470, on the stretch passing through the urban area of Ihota, in the state of Santa Catarina, Brazil. Like many other transportation projects, the road was undergoing routine expansion. Everything seemed normal, until heavy machinery dug down to a depth of about 2 feet. At that moment, the workers suddenly discovered two human skeletons lying silently in the excavation pit. What was most striking was how unusually well preserved the remains were, especially the bright white teeth, clearly visible, almost as if they were grinning up from the pitch-dark earth. Needless to say, the scene sent chills down the spine of everyone who witnessed it. Of course, this sense of horror did not come from imagination, but from the astonishing way nature had preserved the remains. After thousands of years, the bones showed almost no signs of deterioration, and the teeth were still intact and strong. This immediately led authorities to secure the site and call in archaeologists to take over. The excavation process was carried out with extreme care, each layer of soil slowly removed, as if engaging in a quiet conversation with the past. The two skeletons were then transported to the laboratory of the Pharaoh company for analysis. At that time, a multinational research team participated in the examination, and the results quickly captured the attention of the scientific community. The two individuals were identified as members of the Jikwabu tribe, one of the indigenous communities that once lived deep within the Amazon rainforest. Their time of death was estimated to be at least 5,880 years ago, nearly 4,000 years before Christ, BC. This figure alone makes it clear that Amazonian history is far older than what is commonly discussed. According to archaeologist Valdir Luiz Schwengbe of Santa Catarina University, the location where the two individuals died presents several unusual features. They were found at a relatively shallow depth, with no signs of elaborate burial practices. These details suggest that they may have died in isolation, possibly due to a lack of drinking water, and researchers cannot rule out the possibility that this was part of an ancient ritual. Unfortunately, the nature of that ritual remains a major mystery and continues to spark debate among scholars. Another crucial clue lies in the nearly perfect condition of their teeth. By analyzing tooth enamel and wear patterns, scientists determined that the ancient Jikwabu diet consisted primarily of fish. This aligns perfectly with the Amazon environment, where rivers are abundant and aquatic resources are extremely rich. Beyond the two individuals themselves, this discovery serves as evidence that Amazonian tribes emerged very early in human history. These communities are believed to have begun settling in the region around 10,000 years ago, reaching their golden age in the early 1200s AD, with an estimated population of up to 1 million people. Within the Amazon rainforest, there may have once been around 1,500 small villages, and remarkably, about two-thirds of them have yet to be discovered. However, history also has its cruel turning points. Between 1250 and 1500, waves of European migration into the region led to the rapid decline of indigenous tribes. Diseases brought by Europeans are believed to have been the primary cause of the dramatic population collapse, pushing many communities to the brink of extinction. Recognizing the immense value of the newly discovered remains, Brazilian authorities decided to adjust the BR-470 road expansion project. The excavation area was fenced off and converted into a protected site for education and research purposes. You see, from just two anonymous skeletons buried beneath the earth, an entire chapter of Amazonian history has been awakened. Fascinating, isn't it? It just goes to show that the past is never truly asleep. 2,500-year-old teenage remains preserved beneath a bog reveal the history of Northern Ireland. Did you know that some places, which appear to be nothing more than desolate boglands filled with thick black mud, are actually hiding sorrowful stories that stretch back thousands of years? Belugie, a peat bog region in Northern Ireland, is one such place. It has recently spoken as an ancient past emerged from the cold, muddy ground, leaving the scientific community stunned. Back in October of last year, during an inspection of the Belugie bog, the Police Service of Northern Ireland discovered human bone fragments mixed within the peat. At first, many feared the remains might be connected to a modern criminal case. However, once archaeologists became involved, the story quickly took a very different turn, one that was far deeper and far more ancient. After careful analysis, experts determined that these were not the remains of a modern individual, but the bones of someone who had lived thousands of years ago. According to Inspector Nikki Dehan, although the exact cause of death has yet to be determined, the state of preservation of the remains is considered exceptionally good compared to many bog bodies previously discovered. Remarkably, the findings included not only bones, but also portions of skin, a left fingernail, toenails, and possibly even a remaining kidney. This indicates that the peat bog environment had frozen time in an extraordinary way. However, the discovery is also surrounded by mystery. The skull is missing, and the bones were not found intact but scattered throughout the bog. Further analysis suggests that the remains likely belonged to a male teenager, estimated to be between 13 and 17 years old, an age so young that it has led many to ask, what happened to this boy in such a remote bog thousands of years ago? What makes this discovery particularly significant is the method used to determine its age. Archaeologists applied radiocarbon dating, and the results indicate that the teenager died approximately 2,000 to 2,500 years ago, during the Iron Age. Notably, this marks the first time radiocarbon dating has been used on bog remains in Northern Ireland, representing a major advancement in regional archaeological research. The research team then conducted further surveys using high-resolution ground-penetrating radar. This technology allowed them to accurately determine the location and depth of the remains, revealing that the bone fragments were found at a depth of about 3.3 feet below the current surface. The bones appeared among fossilized tree remains, raising the hypothesis that the teenager may have died and been buried in an area that was once grassland or shrubland, or possibly was gradually washed into the bog over time. And as it turns out, this very geological context significantly increases the value of the discovery. The boglands north of Lough Neagh were heavily shaped by glacial activity in the past, creating a uniquely rich archaeological landscape. Every layer of mud and every fossilized tree trunk serves as a clue, helping scientists trace their way back through time. At present, experts are working closely with the National Museums Northern Ireland to preserve and continue studying these invaluable remains. Archaeologists hope that, from this anonymous teenager lying beneath the cold peat, the ancient history of Northern Ireland will gradually come into sharper focus, while also contributing important pieces to the broader study of bog bodies across Europe. Although the exact identity of the teenage boy, and the reason he died and was buried in such a mysterious place may never be fully known, His skeleton alone is enough to tell the story of an entire lost era, isn't it? 8,400-year-old dog remains shock Sweden. There is a truth that may sound quite ordinary at first, but when we look deeper into the distant past, it leaves many people speechless. The friendship between humans and dogs began tens of thousands of years ago. Yes, you heard that right. Humans did not only befriend dogs in modern times. This bond was formed tens of thousands of years ago, and clear evidence of that deep connection has now been awakened from the cold ground of Sweden, where an ancient dog lay undisturbed for more than 8 millennia, waiting for the day it could tell its story. The story begins in September 2020, when Swedish archaeologists discovered an ancient burial site dating back to the Stone Age. Inside the grave, they found not only human remains, but also the remains of a dog more than 8,400 years old, buried alongside the deceased. This was no coincidence. It reflects an ancient burial tradition known as placing grave goods, in which the living buried items of value or strong emotional significance with the dead. In this case, the dog was very likely the individual's closest companion, sent to the afterlife together with the owner of the grave. What is even more remarkable is that, upon analyzing the skeleton, scientists quickly realized that this dog did not resemble any modern breed. Instead, its bone structure revealed a powerful hunting dog with a sturdy build, displaying many characteristics of wild canines that had been domesticated by humans at a very early stage. These traces suggest that thousands of years ago, humans did not raise dogs solely to assist with hunting, but also regarded them as an integral part of their emotional and spiritual lives. For this reason, the discovery of the dog's remains in the large area near the town of Sölvesborg, Sweden, not only provides new insight into the relationship between humans and dogs, but also marks one of the largest archaeological excavations ever carried out in this region. Layer by layer, the soil was carefully removed. Every bone fragment was meticulously documented. All of this helped reconstruct a vivid picture of daily life during the Stone Age. But the story does not end there. Also in early September 2020, an international research team announced an even more astonishing discovery. The remains of a dog dated to between 14,000 and 20,000 years old. This period represents a very early stage in the development of the human-dog relationship and may even mark one of the very first milestones in the domestication process. Experts from the University of Siena in Italy stated that they place great expectations on this discovery. According to them, these ancient bones may help answer a fundamental question. How did a wild carnivorous animal gradually become a loyal companion, living side by side with humans for thousands of years? This transformation was not only biological, but also an emotional journey of growing attachment. In particular, finding evidence of the earliest dogs living alongside humans as companions opens up an entirely new direction of research. The remains of a teenage girl who was a hybrid of two different human species. Our Earth is full of mysteries. There are stories that have remained unsolved for thousands of years, and there are others that, even when heard only once, are enough to make us question the very origins of ourselves. The story of the remains of a 13-year-old girl found in an ancient cave in Siberia, Russia, is one such case. From just a few small bone fragments, scientists opened the door to a shocking truth. This girl was a direct hybrid between two different ancient human species. The discovery was made by a multinational archaeological team during an excavation in an ancient cave deep within the frozen region of Siberia. At first, the bones that were found did not appear particularly remarkable, just scattered fragments of long bones. Yet from these seemingly anonymous remains, a story unlike any other in human history gradually emerged. Through an extremely detailed DNA analysis of the remains, scientists confirmed that this is the first direct evidence of a true hybrid child between two different species within the human genus, known as Homo. The girl's father belonged to the Denisovan species, while her mother was a Neanderthal, two ancient human species that went extinct tens of thousands of years ago. This is no longer a hypothesis or speculation, but a fact proven through genetics. At this point, many people may wonder, aren't we all human? That question is partly correct, but in reality, Homo sapiens, modern humans, are just one branch of the larger human family within the genus Homo. In the past, multiple human species existed on Earth, such as Neanderthals, Denisovans, and Homo erectus. Over time, only Homo sapiens survived and came to dominate the genus Homo to this day. The teenage girl from Siberia is therefore considered a very distant relative of ours. Further analysis revealed an equally surprising story about her parents' migrations. Neanderthals were known to have lived primarily in the west, while Denisovans inhabited regions farther east. During eastward migrations, Neanderthals encountered Denisovans and may also have come into contact with the ancestors of Homo sapiens. These encounters likely created opportunities for interspecies relationships to form, among them, the union that produced this young girl. The findings do not stop there. DNA evidence also shows that the girl's Denisovan father himself had a distant Neanderthal ancestor several generations back. Meanwhile, her mother belonged to a Neanderthal group originating from Western Europe. These genetic clues demonstrate that the two ancient human species were not completely isolated from one another, but instead interacted, met, and coexisted over extended periods of time. Other studies confirm that both Neanderthals and Denisovans survived until around 40,000 years ago. In fact, scientists have long known that species within the genus Homo interbred with one another. Genetic studies show that modern African populations carry a small percentage of Neanderthal DNA, while some other populations possess Denisovan DNA traces originating in Asia. This means that Homo sapiens, us, also interbred with other human species in the past. What makes this discovery truly exceptional, however, is the clear 50-50 genetic split. This is the first time science has identified an individual who was a direct offspring of two different ancient human species. According to Bense Viola, a member of the research team from the University of Toronto, the long bone fragments allowed researchers to estimate that the girl was around 13 years old or slightly older at the time of her death. You see, from an anonymous teenage girl lying quietly in a cold stone cave, the evolutionary history of humankind has once again been rewritten. So if I say that this discovery not only shook the scientific community, but also reminds us that the origins of humanity are far more complex than what we were taught in textbooks, that would certainly not be an exaggeration, would it? Deadly liquid beneath burial cloth reveals the dark secrets of ancient China. China has long been known as a land filled with countless ancient tombs, stretching across thousands of years of history. From emperors and royal family members to nobles, each tomb was constructed as a miniature world, designed both to display power and to protect the secrets of the person buried within. What is striking, however, is that many of these tombs are not discovered through planned archaeological surveys, but instead come to light by sheer chance, during digging, road construction, or mining activities. This case was no different. A miner in Inner Mongolia, China, unexpectedly struck a strange structure while digging. Sensing that something was wrong, he immediately reported it to the authorities. Soon after, an archaeological team arrived, sealed off the site, and began a careful excavation. At first, everything proceeded smoothly. The coffin was cautiously opened, revealing the remains of a woman lying peacefully inside, covered by a layer of fabric that had deteriorated over time. To avoid damaging the artifacts, the archaeologists decided not to touch anything immediately and instead conducted X-ray imaging before any direct intervention. Everything appeared to be under control, but when they gently lifted the burial cloth, something no one expected happened. At that very moment, a strange liquid began to seep out from the area of the remains. A strong metallic odor instantly filled the space, causing several members of the team to feel dizzy and alarmed. Recognizing the danger, one expert immediately issued a warning and ordered everyone to evacuate the area at once. There was no argument or hesitation, because in archaeology, carelessness can cost lives. Later, a team member equipped with specialized protective gear returned to the site, approached the coffin, and carefully collected a sample of the liquid for testing. The results sent chills down everyone's spine. The substance was mercury, an extremely toxic material. Mercury can enter the body through inhalation, causing lung inflammation, difficulty breathing, and high fever. Prolonged exposure can lead to neurological damage, memory loss, seizures, and even death. Even inhaling a small amount in a confined space can result in severe consequences. Inside the enclosed environment of a tomb, the danger is multiplied many times over. So why would such a deadly substance be present in an ancient tomb? The answer lies in the mindset and beliefs of people in the past. Although mercury is poisonous, it also has powerful antibacterial properties and can preserve a body remarkably well. In addition, its toxic vapors acted as an invisible shield, killing tomb robbers who attempted to enter illegally. For this reason, mercury was often used in royal or high-ranking noble tombs. Based on the tomb's structure and the remaining evidence, researchers believe the grave may have belonged to a Liao dynasty princess from the Khitan-led dynasty that existed between 907 and 1125. Discovering a royal tomb in such a well-preserved condition is extremely rare, which also explains why such a large quantity of mercury was used. This discovery has also led many to immediately think of the tomb of Qin Shi Huang, where legends speak of entire rivers of mercury flowing around the burial chamber to protect the emperor in the afterlife. Even today, despite highly advanced excavation technology, experts have not dared to open that tomb due to the extreme risk posed by mercury. As you can see, beneath the ground lie not only historical relics, but also deadly traps carefully laid thousands of years ago. And every excavation forces humanity to confront not only history, but also the dangers deliberately left behind by ancient people to guard secrets they never wanted to be awakened. It is truly chilling and extraordinarily dangerous for archaeologists. The remains of an airplane, lost 45 years ago, discovered in the swamps of New Guinea. Amid the damp swamps and dense jungles of New Guinea, where time often swallows every trace of human presence, a strange discovery once sent shockwaves around the world. It was the discovery of a twin-engine passenger aircraft that had vanished nearly half a century earlier. Yet when it was found in 1985, it looked as if it had landed just the day before. The aircraft had disappeared for 45 years while flying from Manila, Philippines to the island of Mindanao. During all that time, there were no distress signals, no wreckage, and not a single trace. Then, in 1985, deep within the remote swamps of New Guinea, it was unexpectedly found lying silently, its silver surface gleaming under the sunlight. What was almost unbelievable was that the fuselage showed no dents, no rust, and the registration markings were still clearly visible, as if they had just been freshly painted. When authorities arrived at the site, a team of Indonesian military aviation experts was dispatched to investigate. From the very first glance, they sensed that something was seriously wrong. The aircraft's exterior was polished like a mirror, showing no signs of erosion by nature at all. Normally, one would expect that after 45 years sitting in a swamp, the aircraft doors would be heavily rusted and completely seized. But no, after a single light punch, the door opened smoothly, without even a creaking sound. When they stepped inside the cabin, the scene made everyone's skin crawl. There were no passengers, no crew members, no bodies, and no signs of panic. Yet on the seats, there were still paper cups, cigarette butts, and, most striking of all, newspapers dated the third week of January 1937, a Sunday. The paper was not yellowed. The ink remained sharp and clear, as if the newspapers had been placed there only hours earlier. Even more remarkably, inside an ashtray, investigators found an aromatic cigarette pack, a brand that had been popular in the 1930s but discontinued since World War II. The photographs and hairstyles in the newspapers clearly reflected the era of economic crisis and depression in the United States. Everything looked like a slice of time frozen in the middle of the 20th century. But what truly terrified the experts came next. Inside a thermal flask, the coffee was still hot, its aroma unmistakable, showing no signs of spoilage. No one could explain how, after 45 years, the liquid had remained unchanged. And it didn't stop there. When the technical systems were examined, the shock only deepened. The batteries were still fully charged. Turning a switch caused the cabin lights to come on. The fuel tanks were nearly full. The aircraft looked as though it had made an emergency landing only moments earlier, its landing gear touching down on the soft swamp ground and preventing any damage. In theory, it might even have been capable of flying again, just as it had nearly 50 years earlier. Because of these inexplicable details, the discovery site was quickly sealed off. No scientific explanation has ever convincingly answered the biggest question of all. How could an aircraft remain untouched by time after lying in such a harsh environment for 45 years? To this day, the airplane is still remembered as one of the most spine-chilling mysteries in aviation history. Pharaoh Amenhotep I's mummy, opened for the first time in 3,000 years. Have you ever wished there was a way to look into the past without touching it? Thanks to modern CT scanning technology, scientists have achieved what once seemed impossible, peering through the sacred wrappings to clearly see the form of an Egyptian pharaoh after more than 3,000 years of rest. The star of this story is Amenhotep I, a young and powerful ruler who still carries a great mystery that has yet to be explained. Through detailed CT images, Amenhotep I's face gradually emerges. He died at around 35 years old, stood about 5 feet 6 inches tall, and had unusually strong teeth compared to many other mummies. His facial features closely resemble his father's, with a narrow chin, small nose, curly hair, and a slightly prominent upper jaw. These details transform Amenhotep I from just a name carved on stone into a real person, someone who lived, ruled, and left a mark on ancient Egyptian history. What particularly caught researchers' attention lay beneath the wrappings. They discovered up to 30 carefully arranged amulets along with a finely crafted gold bracelet embedded with real gold beads. According to Zahi Hawass, former Egyptian Minister of Antiquities and lead author of the study, ancient Egyptians often wore gold bracelets around the waist, combined with amulets to protect the pharaoh in his journey to the afterlife. Imagine this. After thousands of years, these items still remain in their original positions, seemingly performing their duty of guarding the late king's soul. In fact, Amenhotep I's mummy was not unknown before. In 1881, French Egyptologist Gaston Maspero and his team discovered his remains, along with those of other royal mummies, in a tomb on the west bank of Thebes, now the Luxor area. Prior to that, the mummy had been relocated to a collective tomb between 1070 and 945 BCE after the original tomb had been raided by grave robbers. CT technology has also revealed the tragic history Amenhotep I endured. Images show that his neck was broken, his head had been severed, and his abdomen and limbs were heavily damaged. A clear sign of ancient tomb robbers who would stop at nothing to plunder treasures, regardless of the pharaoh's body. Later, priests of Amun during the 21st dynasty attempted to repair this damage. They carefully repositioned the separated limbs, used resin to bind them together, and applied additional layers of wrappings in a final effort to restore the deceased king's integrity. Thanks to this, Amenhotep I's mummy has survived almost intact to the present day. Yet the most puzzling question remains: the cause of his death. Even after thorough CT scans, scientists have found no signs of disease or injury sufficient to explain why Amenhotep I died so young. His death remains a mystery. Unlike most other pharaohs' mummies, which have long been unwrapped or extensively studied, Amenhotep I is one of the very few royal mummies almost untouched. This CT scan not only provides insight into his appearance and the original mummification rituals, but also reveals how his body was treated during the second reburial. And who knows, within the remaining layers of wrappings, history may still conceal a clue about the mysterious death of this pharaoh, waiting for humans to uncover it. World War II submarines, sunk over 80 years ago, found on the Baltic Sea floor. Deep beneath the icy waters of the Baltic Sea, where waves and storms have long erased traces of war, a remarkable discovery has recently emerged: the remains of 2 steel ghosts that once prowled the seas during World War II. These are not treasures of gold or forgotten ancient cities, but 2 Soviet submarines lying quietly for over 80 years on the seabed, carrying stories that have never fully been told. The discovery was made by a Russian underwater exploration team operating offshore from Kronstadt. Under the leadership of team captain Konstantin Bogdanov, the group embarked on a mission to locate missing submarines of the Soviet Baltic Fleet lost during World War II. Their targets were 2 SC-class submarines, designated S-406 and S-320, both sunk in 1943, at a time when naval warfare in the region was especially fierce. To pinpoint their locations, the team employed advanced sonar equipment. On the sonar screen, vague outlines gradually emerged, revealing the unmistakable shapes of the submarines. These signals sparked hope and marked a significant breakthrough in the mission to confirm the fate of vessels long believed lost forever. Soon after, experienced divers descended to a depth of about 148 feet to conduct direct inspections. The scene at the Baltic seabed was both chilling and haunting. The hulls, conning towers, control surfaces, and many other characteristic parts of the submarines were still remarkably recognizable. S-320 rested roughly 1 mile from Teuters Island, while S-406 was only about 1,640 feet away. Two submarines, two destinies, yet both shared the same end, sunk and abandoned in the deep for over 8 decades. What sent shivers down many spines were the traces of the crew's desperate struggles during the accidents. On S-406, divers discovered the conning tower hatch open, a clear indication that the crew had attempted to escape in a life-or-death moment. Whether they succeeded or what ultimately happened to them remains an unsolved mystery. The story of S-320 is even more tragic. The crew is believed to have tried to escape through the torpedo tube, a last resort in emergencies. Unfortunately, all efforts failed. The entire crew perished, leaving the submarine as a silent mass grave beneath the waves. Today, these two submarines are more than rusted metal. They are silent witnesses to the Soviet Navy's history in World War II. Every detail, every crack in the hull, tells a story of courage, sacrifice, and the harsh cost of war. Heartbreaking, yet profoundly moving, these underwater relics speak volumes to those who study them. 59 death spheres, forgotten for 400 years, beneath the Great Wall of China. Can you believe that right beneath the solemn stones of China's Great Wall, one of the greatest defensive structures in human history, there once lay a silent arsenal, dormant for hundreds of years? If you find that hard to believe, let me take you back in time to an excavation in the Badaling area, about 50 miles northwest of Beijing. There, archaeologists were stunned to discover 59 stone grenades neatly stored in the ruins of an ancient warehouse at the foot of the Great Wall. That number alone was enough to shock researchers because these were not ordinary stones. They were the death spheres of the Ming Dynasty. Experts date these stone grenades to roughly 400 years ago. Many of them bear inscriptions commanding soldiers to remain vigilant and strictly guard the section of the wall near Beijing. This indicates that these were not just weapons, but part of a well-organized, disciplined defensive system, always ready to repel invading enemies. What makes these grenades particularly remarkable is their simple yet deadly design. They were made from stone with a round hole drilled in the center to hold gunpowder. Once packed, the soldiers would seal the hole, ignite the fuse, and throw the grenade from above. Upon hitting the target, the grenade would explode, causing casualties and spreading fear among enemies. Their construction closely resembles other stone grenades previously found, suggesting this weapon type was common for soldiers defending the Great Wall during the Ming Dynasty. This discovery also sheds light on the incredible diversity of early gunpowder weapons between 1368 and 1644, the reign of the Ming Dynasty. Gunpowder was invented in China around the 10th century, and by the Ming period, the technology had advanced significantly and was widely applied in the military. Besides stone grenades, East Asian soldiers at the time also used weapons with names as colorful as flying rats, fire bricks, and iron-spiked fireballs. According to Shang Heng, a researcher at the Beijing Archaeological Institute, this is the first time a weapons warehouse has been discovered inside the Great Wall itself. He noted that these weapons were easy to make, convenient to use, and particularly suited to the wall's tall, narrow terrain. Soldiers could simply stand atop the wall and throw grenades directly down at enemy formations below. Though primitive, the gunpowder formula was designed to maximize explosive impact, often igniting surrounding materials. The combination of fire and loud explosions created a powerful psychological effect on the battlefield. In addition, archaeologists discovered the remains of a stone fortress near the wall, along with watchtowers, fire pits, kitchens, shovels, and numerous household items used by soldiers and their families. Altogether, these finds paint a vivid picture of the life, combat, and survival of Ming soldiers stationed on one of history's harshest defensive lines. So, do you think that beneath each stone of the Great Wall, there are still untold stories waiting to be awakened? I, for one, absolutely believe it. A 3,300-year-old head of hair and the buried beauty secrets of Amarna. Amid the arid sands of Egypt, some things seem so fragile that a light touch could send them scattering to the wind. Yet, at a cemetery near the ancient city of Amarna, archaeologists stumbled upon a discovery that startled everyone who heard about it. A human skull, and atop it, a nearly intact head of hair that had survived 3,300 years. This wasn't a meticulously mummified body, nor a gilded coffin. It was just an ordinary skeleton wrapped in a simple mat, and yet, the hair remained as if silently telling the story of ancient Egyptian women's beauty. To understand this discovery, we must go back to the reign of Pharaoh Akhenaten, around 1353 to 1335 BCE. Under his rule, Amarna was chosen as Egypt's new capital. Akhenaten is famous as a reformist pharaoh who dared to overhaul the religious system, shifting from worshipping the sun god Ra to revering Aten, the radiant sun disk. This period marked the birth of monotheistic worship and a major turning point in Egyptian history. However, after Akhenaten's death, Amarna was quickly abandoned, leaving behind remnants that lay undisturbed for millennia. The Amarna project was launched to study the ancient city comprehensively, from daily life and health to cultural practices. It was during this research that the 3,300-year-old hair was discovered. According to archaeologist Yolanda Boss, the woman who owned this hair had an elaborate hairstyle, with about 70 hair extensions attached at various points on her head. Just hearing the number gives a sense of the labor and care that went into her hairstyle. A key question still debated among researchers is whether this hairstyle was made specifically for burial, or if it was her everyday style during life. If it was her daily hairstyle, it shows that hair care and styling were incredibly important in the lives of Amarna women. Yolanda Boss also discovered different hairstyles on other skulls. Some had neatly braided brown hair looped around the ears, a style that seems to have been very popular in Amarna. Others had hair extensions in multiple colors, suggesting that hair from several people was combined to create wigs or extensions. In some cases, ancient Egyptians even used animal fat or grease to hold the hair in place, a kind of ancient hair gel. Another fascinating detail was the use of hair dye. One skull revealed hair with gray and reddish-orange hues, indicating that ancient Egyptians knew how to color their hair. Initial analysis suggests the dye was likely henna, a plant-based pigment used for hair coloring for over 6,000 years. Imagine this. While Europe had yet to conceptualize cosmetics, the Egyptians were already experimenting with beauty, styling, and coloring their hair as they wished. This adds yet another layer to our understanding of ancient Egyptian culture, showing that their beauty practices were far more sophisticated and inventive than many of us might have imagined. A Neolithic village discovered in France. In the expansive Marais de Saint-Gond archaeological site in northeastern France, researchers have uncovered important traces of a long-term settlement from the Neolithic period, shedding rare light on the social and economic organization of early human communities. This discovery marks a significant step forward in understanding how ancient people lived and organized their communities, especially 150 years after the first flintstones were discovered in the area. The prehistoric village came to light when archaeologists discovered a large ditch used to install a fence surrounding the settlement in Val de Marais, about 85 miles northwest of Paris. The site, estimated at approximately 2.5 acres, sits atop a hill and features a carefully planned layout. One notable find is a building with an apse-shaped vaulted roof, located near a 66 feet wide refuse pit, along with several wells, providing crucial evidence about the daily life and livelihood of the settlement's residents. Rémi Martineau, the lead archaeologist, emphasized that this discovery represents the final piece of the puzzle in understanding human life during the Neolithic period. According to him, the find offers deep insights into the economic, social, and territorial structures of ancient communities at Marais de Saint-Gond. The research team uncovered 15 large flint quarries and 135 underground pits, as well as traces of tools and agricultural structures. They also found megalithic posts and a system for polishing axes, showing that tool production had reached a highly developed level for the time. In addition to these tools and quarries, one particularly intriguing find was a small oval object made from mother of pearl, with 2 drilled holes, which may represent an early version of a button. This object dates to approximately 3,300 to 3,400 years ago and stands as evidence of the development of fine craftsmanship and the demand for personal attire and accessories in Neolithic society. All these discoveries are the result of a 20-year research program led by the French National Center for Scientific Research, in collaboration with other institutions including Artehis Laboratory, Bourgogne-Franche-Comté University, and the French Ministry of Culture. The involvement of 50 researchers and archaeology students from France and abroad helped complete the excavation and analysis of these significant remains. Archaeologists hope that the remaining parts of the Marais de Saint-Gon site will be well preserved to allow for future excavations, which could continue to provide valuable clues about the lives and culture of ancient communities. It is fair to say that this discovery not only illuminates a distant past, but also provides profound insights into the development of human society from its earliest beginnings. A 2,300-year-old time portal beneath an ancient Egyptian temple. At a depth of nearly 65 feet underground, hidden beneath the ancient temple in the city of Taposiris Magna, a name that seems to step straight out of Egyptian mythology, a 4,430 feet long tunnel has just been excavated. But what makes this discovery a major breakthrough for the scientific community is not just its size or millennia-old age, but the purpose this tunnel once served. Do not imagine it as a hiding place for mummies or a lost treasure. The marvel lies in the advanced water management system that the ancient Egyptians quietly engineered over 2,000 years ago. It is astonishing to think that around 304 to 300 BCE, when many other civilizations were still struggling to channel water across rivers and lakes with rudimentary tools, the Egyptians at Taposiris Magna had already built a sophisticated underground irrigation system. A massive water conduit about 6.5 feet tall, buried 43 to 66 feet below the surface, running beneath the sacred temple dedicated to Osiris and Isis, two of the most revered deities in ancient Egyptian religion. According to archaeologist Kathleen Martinez, who leads the research team from the University of San Domingo, this tunnel represents a highly advanced technical achievement, clear evidence that knowledge of subterranean engineering, water pressure, and construction techniques had reached a level far beyond their time. What astonishes archaeologists even more is that the tunnel has remained intact for more than 2 millennia. This structure was not only a functional waterway, but also bore religious and political significance. Its location beneath a temple was deliberate, forming part of the sacred architectural complex at Taposiris Magna, a city founded by Pharaoh Ptolemy II Philadelphus in the 3rd century BCE. The city contained temples, tombs, and a population estimated between 15,000 and 20,000 people, living in a city where every stone carried sacred meaning. The Taposiris Magna water conduit is considered a perfect version of the Eupalinos tunnel, a technical marvel of ancient Greece. The fact that the Egyptians could replicate or even innovate on this Greek design demonstrates a profound cross-cultural exchange of engineering knowledge between Egypt and the Greco-Roman world during a period when the Mediterranean was the cradle of the most advanced civilizations. Archaeologists have also uncovered priceless artifacts inside the tunnel and surrounding sediment. Ancient pottery, household items, and a mysterious rectangular limestone block whose function remains unknown. Previous excavations in the area have revealed 2,000-year-old tombs, including mummies with gold tongues, busts of Cleopatra, 22 coins engraved with her portrait, gold amulets, and a headless granite statue, all hinting at a story yet to be fully told about this ancient city and Egypt's last powerful queen. Because of this, many researchers have boldly hypothesized that Taposiris Magna could be Cleopatra's final resting place, a place where the legendary queen may have sought to unite her life with Osiris in a ritual of immortal rebirth. With its strategic location, sacred architecture, and artifacts intimately connected to Cleopatra, Taposiris Magna is becoming the center of one of the most fascinating archaeological quests of the century. The question now is, if the ancient Egyptians could build a subterranean water system over a kilometer long, hidden beneath a temple, modeled on Greek techniques, and keep it intact for over 2,000 years, how many more secrets might still lie buried beneath Egypt's sands? Perhaps this site is not just an ancient city, but a gateway to a civilization whose story has yet to be fully told. Dear friends, as we conclude our journey through the 12 most mysterious and terrifying archaeological discoveries in the world, what remains is not just fear, but a profound sense of awe at what ancient humans once experienced. Those buried skeletons, structures, and traces are not merely relics. They are silent warnings from history. No matter how magnificent a civilization may be, it cannot escape the cycle of life and death. Some discoveries leave scientists baffled, while others remain sealed to this day, either too dangerous or too difficult to explain. And the most frightening part isn't what has already been uncovered. It's what still lies hidden deep beneath the earth, waiting for the day it will be awakened. What do you think? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe so you won't miss the next adventures on the channel. For now, goodbye, and see you next time.